All right, we're in business.
Yo,
What's
how's it
up?
going? How's it going, KG? How you doing?
Oh,
Yeah, good man, good. Just living the dream, man, living the dream.
Dope, dope. What are you doing today? You climbing the Mount Ainsley?
Yeah, just doing my morning routine, just like a bit of meditation, and then yeah, do some kind of something that sucks every day. That's kind of like my
Oh
my
yeah,
ethos. Yeah, so today's sucky activity was running up this mountain. So yeah, it's
that's
pretty good.
that's cool, man. So you do
Yeah,
something every day that you kind of don't like, kind of to
yeah,
train your motivation a bit.
yeah, just to train the mind, keep the mind sharp. Yeah, so I try and do, yeah, just something that I really struggle with to start off my day, and then it kind of, because then I kind of feel like the day just kind of flows on from there. Then it can't get any worse than that. So
Yeah, I feel
that's
that. Yeah, dope.
yeah.
That's
You
Great
awesome.
ever take
philosophy.
cold showers
yeah,
or
man.
like
Oh,
I do that
listen to
once a week
SoundCloud
too.
rap?
Yeah, I do that once a week, man. It's not nice. Not
Yeah,
nice.
yeah,
I
it's
know.
tough.
Cold hot showers help massively after the gym, but for
Yeah,
most of
true.
the
Yeah.
oh,
Apparently helps you. It keeps you awake. Like it doesn't. It helps you not be as tired and stuff. Gives you more
Yeah.
energy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I heard
definitely,
that.
I definitely don't think you'll be falling asleep in a cold shower. That's for certain.
No, no. I mean, you guys, like, I'm from Canberra, so like in that winter, boy, like when I got to do it, that's like my Friday thing. When I do that, I'm like, man,
Oh
I'm not even
man.
gonna lie. I crank the heat up straight after because I'm just like, I feel like I just stepped out of Siberia or something like that. So, and
Yeah,
plus that,
nice.
coupled with the fact that I'm African, man, like we're like hot people. You know what I mean? Like we're from the Serengeti, like we love our heat. So it's like a
Yeah.
double jab, you know?
So you're not really a winter person?
Nah, not at all. To be honest, like during when Canberra is goes through winter. Obviously, there's been COVID, but I like to plan my tours around that kind of winter, July time. If you go on my timeline on Instagram or whatever, I'm always like Perth, Darwin,
Yeah.
Queensland. I'm always doing
Yeah.
something that side of Oz. And Which is cool. But hopefully, fingers crossed, this year I'll be jet setting back to South Africa to finally do my tour that I was supposed to do 2020. So yeah,
Yeah.
fingers crossed with that.
Damn.
Yeah,
So
dope, man.
you're from Botswana specifically.
Yeah, so the story is a little complicated because during the time there was conflict between what was happening in South Africa. So my dad is born and raised in Soweto, South Africa, a township called Alexandria. There was like in the early 80s, I want to say, I don't want to get this wrong, but there was like a massacre that went down there. And he kind of was a few years above the kids that kind of like were shot by the police because they were protesting learning the Afrikaans language, and then they were shot by the police. So that kind of sparked my dad's wanting to get into activism and wanting to get into like protesting and stuff like that. So because of that, he kind of had to flee to Botswana because obviously the government was
Wow.
trying to like kill him and Nelson Mandela and a bunch of guys, who were part of the ANC, which my dad was a part of. And then he met my mom in Botswana. They obviously had me. And then, yeah, I was born in Botswana, but like most of my time as a child, most of my memories were in South Africa. And because Botswana is the bordering country of South Africa, when my dad was living, the tribes are actually very similar. They speak the same language.
I
So
see.
it's kind of like if you imagine Sydney and Canberra, like we're two different countries.
Oh
Mm.
Like
yeah.
obviously, yeah, that's the kind of vibe, but like very similar, very similar like landscape, very similar food,
Uh,
even share a few languages and stuff like that.
So when you say it's similar to Canberra and Sydney, like are they real close to each other?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, yeah,
They border each other exactly like that. Like you can just dip for the weekend to Botswana from like South Africa,
yeah,
from the
dope.
township where my dad was. It's just like a 1 hour, 2 hour drive.
Wild.
Yeah, nice.
And like what
Yeah.
age was that you were living in South Africa?
So I came back here. So we fled here when I was 3. So that was around about 1989. Then I went back about like would have been 1992, 93 when the elections were coming. stayed there for a few, and then was just going back and forth throughout. Like when I was 10, I spent like 8 months there. When I was 12, I spent like 6 months there, and then when I was 16, I spent nearly a year there. So it was just about like reconnecting with all my family, reconnecting with my roots and stuff like that. Like being able to, my mum really wanted me to speak the language. So I was very blessed in the fact that my dad and my mum like really pushed that. Then obviously they kind of grew apart. My mum decided to stay in Australia. My dad wanted to move back home. So as I grew older, I just kind of like just wanted to stay more in Australia. So I hadn't been back till I turned 21. So I had a 6-7 year period where I didn't even go. I just stayed in Australia and then went back when I was 21, which was really cool.
No,
have you done any other major traveling over the world aside from just back and forth between Australia and Africa?
Yeah, I went to do DJ in 2019 in Mauritius. It was so super random. I met a guy who was at this festival, and then he like was talking to my manager, and then I happened to just be going through Mauritius for a like holiday because I think it's about a 4 or 5 hour flight from Perth to there. So that's how I kind of break it up. I go to Perth and then Mauritius, then South Africa. So I went to Mauritius for a stint to DJ at a resort, which was awesome because you just like work 2 nights. You work the Thursday and the Friday, and then you get like the whole week to just chill and sample all the amenities. And so yeah, I've done a bit of that. And then when I was 21, I spent a month in Singapore because I'm a dancer. So I went there to just upskill, train myself, and get more of a different perspective on hip hop dance and the culture there. And that was really cool. That was just by myself. It was very daunting, but I really enjoyed it. The people of Singapore are amazing. I can't recommend enough people to just go there. The culture, the hip hop culture there. Yeah, the hip hop culture there is just like, it's crazy. It's so underrated. It's really, really cool there.
Is it more of like oh, so you go.
I actually wanted to ask you, which came first, singing or dancing? And how does being a dancer kind of play into making music? Like, do you deliberately make it more danceable?
Stole my question.
I mean, that's a great question. It's kind of hard for me because like I grew up watching dudes like MC Hammer, dudes like Will Smith. My mom was really, really against because she came from a Christian background. So I was never allowed to like listen to Snoop Dogg or Dr. Dre. I had to like dip to my friends' houses and like kind of sneak the latest tape. I had a friend, big shout out to my one of my best friends, Vic. And he used to just get these underground tapes. I don't even know how he got them, but it would be like Wu-Tang Clan. And I'd be like, yo, what is this? But I grew up like, my mom was cool with like MC Hammer and LL. I think LL Cool J even was a little bit like, because he had no clothes on, so she kind of was like, yeah, I'll let you watch that guy, but he's saying a song about mama wanna knock me out or something like that. Like, so she was just real anti like that kind of hip hop. But so for me, like my first introduction to hip hop was dudes who rapped and like danced. So for me, it was just like a natural thing. I was like, oh, I want to do that, Hammer Time. Or I had the baggy pants and everything. And then that coupled with the fact that I love Michael Jackson, and I was just like, yeah, this is just what I want to do. So all throughout high school, I kind of hit it because I went to an all boys school in Canberra, and it was real toxic.
Which school?
Because I went to Eddie's, man. I went to St. Edmund's College.
Shout out Eddie's. There'll be people from Eddie's hearing this.
Yeah, so it was real tough because it was like it was a rugby school. And I was an athlete myself. I played a lot of basketball, like, high level of basketball. And then, so I kind of like just hid the dancing and the rapping thing. I kept it on the down low. It wasn't until like my cousins and people that went before me kind of forced me into Rocker Stedford that I was like, oh, okay, like this is all right, like we can do this. And then I met my best friend Shaka from that school. Shaka J, big shout out to him. And then it was just up from there, man. Like we had the similar liking to everything that we wanted to do. We ended up forming a group together, traveling all around Australia, doing the whole thing. And it was just that original, inspiration of seeing what those old school hip hop dudes did. And I was like, I want to do that. Whatever that is, that guy's doing on TV, I want to do that because that looks sick.
I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
So, because you dance and you make music, what do you prefer to do? If you had to do one of those things, which one?
That is tough. That is tough.
I've got the tough questions.
That is really tough. I'll probably, to be honest, you know, because like I'm so passionate about helping young people and inspiring like the next generation, I'll probably have to say dance, just because for me, it's an easier vehicle to touch more people. Like music is dope, don't get me wrong, like I love it, but like I feel like a lot of the times when I write music for myself. But like when I'm doing dance or I'm teaching dance, especially because I run a dance school, a youth dance program,
Passion and Purpose Academy.
Yeah, called Passion and Purpose, and I've got like a way bigger reach with that. And you know, I see the kids travel all over the world. I mean, you know, we last year we went to Botswana, we ran workshops there. You know what I mean? So I feel like my greatest achievements have been through dance. So like personally, not like, you know, not career wise. Obviously, I've done great things with music. But if I had to choose between the two, bro, Kappa, I have to say dance, man.
Yeah, dope. Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
I had a question just before you were talking. I think you make a song and you put it up.
You're breaking up a bit, bro.
Like way before 2018, which... Oh, sorry. I can't hear anything.
Sorry, what did you say?
Difficulties. Are we all good?
Yeah. Sorry, what did you say?
Oh yeah. So a lot of people think that you kind of start music and you make a song really quick and you put it out as soon as you finished it. But like your first songs are from 2018 on streaming services. So like how long before 2018 were you making music?
Oh
and, like,
man, yeah.
Really trying to do something.
I think it was tough for me because there was a range of things that went down. Like I said, I was in a group with Shaka J. So we signed a deal to a record label called New Firm when we were like 18, man. Like, so we signed that deal. And it was just a real eye-opening experience to like the industry. Through that deal, we're having meetings with Sony BMG, you know, at the time. And then we had like all these random offers, you know, to put us together with like, you know, a girl, make an Australian version of the Black Eyed Peas, all this kind of like random nonsense, man. Like, you know, like, yeah. So it kind of,
they were trying to market you.
Yeah, they were trying to manipulate as well. Like it was to the point where like one of the deals, like, you know, I can say this now, but like one of the deals was like, you know, because I think it was after Fig Kid had signed his deal, and one of the deals we got offered was like 120K, but like the songs were already done for us. You know what I mean? And then we had to just go in and like just do raps, like little like pop, and it was like yo, like real old school production, like real old school kind of like what was it, crisscross kind of vibe, you know, dress us up in like pastel colors,
trying to be boom bap justice crew.
Yeah, just like shave half of my head, you know what I mean, like all this kind of random nonsense. So I kind of like got real disillusioned with that, and plus a lot of things were happening in our personal lives, you know, we're trying to figure out where we wanted to be, and so so we recorded a whole album. We recorded actually 2 albums. Then they never saw the day of light. Wow. And then we kind of, because we moved to Melbourne, so we were doing that thing there. And then I was always dancing on the side. So we left Melbourne, then we came back to Canberra, and we joined up with a amazing dance school here called Culture Break, where I met Capo. Yeah. And so I was just doing that while I was still doing music. We released the album with Culture Break as well, kind of like and that was more like Christian, like ministry kind of stuff. So we toured with them. We went around schools. You know, I performed with Guy Sebastian.
Hope tour?
Before the Hope tour. Before the Hope tour started, there was we were like the first generation of Hope tours. So nice. So these were like United Life tours, you know, and Guy Sebastian jumped on board. He was doing a bunch of things. This is when he had his afro and he's singing the song Oh. I did a bunch of backup dancing for him. Then from that, I signed a deal, like a publishing deal really, with Brian McFadden. So you probably see that on my YouTube. And then I was just like writing songs with him and his producer, Rob. Big shout out to Rob Connolly. And so it was to the point where like, for me, like I never really found the music that I'd recorded or the music that I was like made to record was really telling the true story of who I am as a person. So every time it got to like, you know, people trying to market it or put it out, I never really was comfortable. You know, there was people that were like, oh, you kids, because I have the ability to sing. I was a singer as well. So they'd be like, we want to market you as Flow Rider or Teo Cruz or this or that. And then, so it wasn't really until 2016, 17 when I started my own label, and I just decided that I was just going to fund the project myself. I was going to, you know, from the inception to the cover art, to the just everything, to the team, to the PR company that I use and I still use today. Like we're all just a team. We all work together, you know. And then when I got an opportunity to walk into Warner Music, it was on my own terms. So everything that I do, you know, with my label and stuff like that is all on my own terms. Even with the stuff that I'm doing with Warner Music South Africa, it's on my own terms. So I wouldn't, you know, I'm not going to lie and say that it's easy. I'm not going to say that, you know, it hasn't required me to like take a lot of, you know, my other company's money and invest in that. But like, if you have the ability to choose your own destiny, that's just the best way to go, because at the end of the day, I'd rather fail because I chose that path than someone else chose it for me. You know what I mean? Because then it's just like, what if, you know, what if I chose to go it alone? You never know. And a lot of artists that I spoke to and a lot of people who mentor me, who are older than me, have told me horror stories of, you know, their record deals and stuff like that. So
I guess just based off that, I had a question. Have you had any major sacrifices in like maybe hobbies that you wanted to take up, or activities or things that you've started with people that you had to give up in order to pursue music?
Yeah. Like, to be honest, like just a lot of friends. Like I had to sacrifice like a lot of friends. Like I don't have, you know, sometimes I don't have the time to help, you know, I mean, not really help, but just hang out with friends, you know what I mean? Because it's like I said, I also manage a label. So I've got a couple of artists, you know, one artist that I'm mentoring internationally. So I got to get up at, you know, South African time to help him kind of navigate his career. And then also my relationship, you know, sometimes it wanes because it's like you, rather than taking $10,000 to go on a holiday, you know what I'm saying? I'm spending that on a marketing budget. I'm spending that on, you know, putting a tour together, putting posters, you know, getting everything ready for an EP release or recording or something like that. So, you know, when that happens, it's like sometimes you have to have those hard conversations, but it's all about how bad you want it. And if that's what fulfills you, then you just got to do it, you know, and the people who support you will understand.
You still make
really
it
love you, understand.
You still make it to church every Sunday though?
Nah, man. I gotta apologize to my mom. I make it to church every Sunday. I got her, but look, they got online church now, so I try and make it like at least once a month. So
damn, too busy.
Yeah, but I mean that's the thing. Like even I took my mom out to dinner a couple of days ago, and she thanked me. She was like, "Man, we haven't done this in like 6 months," and I'm like, "Yeah, mom, COVID, mom, COVID." But like really, it's just been like I've been hella busy too, so I feel bad. But it's like same time, it's like that's why time is so important, and who you hang around is very important, and who you also want to you know, who you want to inspire, or you know, like time wasting is a very big thing for me. I don't like to waste my time, so I want to make sure that whoever I'm hanging around or you know, whatever I'm doing has a purpose.
Yeah, dope. I got a question. It's about sort of your writing process. So do you want to talk a bit about your writing process, and because you're a busy man, so like when you find time to write and what sort of environments you like writing in, and just like what inspires you to sort of write your music?
I've got this is cool that you're actually asking me, because me and Shaka just ran a workshop on the weekend, and with the ANU, we're doing songwriting techniques and stuff like that. But the main two ways that I write my songs is like I have the first way is like I have a theme. So I have a theme, I have an idea. The best way I can lay it out to you is, for example, like Superwoman, my song Superwoman, you know, in South Africa, or just across the world, there's a lot of you know, gender-based violence. There's a lot of violence against women. So I kind of always have just wanted to make a song that you know, my mom would be proud of, my, you know, my nieces and my nephews, just something that I could leave a legacy that was like, you know, I lent my voice to the benefit of empowering women, and not only that, just showing guys that it's okay to, like, you know, be vulnerable and want to protect your, you know, your mom, your sister, and just other women in general. So that was the theme that I had. And then I kind of just sat down. I already mapped out the chorus and went and worked with an amazing producer by the name of Jerome Farah. Big props to him. He's a great, amazing artist, man. Like, he's the artist I think Australia's not ready for. But so we sat down just in
first.
Yeah, we sat down in one day and we just mapped it out. He made the beat. You know, he played the guitars on there, and then we were just in the studio just vibing. So it was a creative process of, I already had the idea. I already mapped out what I wanted to say in the raps, but then it was just like, I needed the producer there to just formulate the song. But the second way is just a vibe, man. Just probably similar to a lot of rappers. You hear a beat, you know, and you just get inspired by the musicality, and then you just start, you know, like rapping away, or you know, nowadays we all got phones. So like I just start like rapping melodies, like I'll be like humana, like, you know, mumble rap.
Voice memos.
Yeah.
Voice memos are great. I use them a lot.
Yeah, and then you get home and you just start thinking, okay, you know, what do I want to say? Like, what is this beat? You know, you just let the music speak to you, and then you just start writing, you know, and then like the last way, which I haven't done since I was young, man, I got to do more, is just writing without any kind of like beat, any kind of anything, just like writing from the heart and just putting my thoughts and, you know, what I'm going through just on paper. I think that's one of the most vulnerable ways to write, you know, because it's like, you're not backed by a beat. It's just you in a room with silence, and you got to just pen down those thoughts, you know. And every time I do that, I've done that probably like maybe 6-7 months ago. It always reminds me of Nas, you know, and because some reason I always just think of Nas just in his room when he was young, just writing.
I love Nas.
Yeah, no, he's the GOAT, man. He's awesome.
I got a counter question real quick.
I actually had
another
one. You go. I'll go after.
Okay, real quick. So like with your writing, do you ever just write for practice? Like, let's say just sometimes you just write some random bars, or not necessarily a song with a topic, but just to practice like your cadence and flow?
Yeah, that's a great question. To do that, I actually don't write. Like, for example, when I'm running up the mountain, I will just do that. Like, that's just like that's just a thing that I've always done. And I got that from Jay-Z, you know, when he said that he tries to just rap. He doesn't write lyrics. So like what I'll do is, for like my memory, it really helps when I'm doing performances, for example. Like, I'll rap something and then I'll go, okay, what was that flow? And then I'll try and memorize that. And then I'll wait like 5-10 minutes, and then I'll try and be like, oh, what was that flow again? And try and remember it. So just trying to keep my mind sharp. But yeah, that's how I hone that with the cadences and different flows. I just try and do that just instinctively, because there's always these little pockets in the day where you're driving, where you're, you know what I mean? Where you're like just chilling, maybe in an elevator or whatever, you know, walking up this mountain or running up this mountain, where you can actually just do that. It doesn't have to be like, you know, a pen and a paper. But now that you said that, I'm actually going to just try that. So thanks for that tip, bro.
Yeah, definitely, bro. Cool.
Yeah. So like, you talk about rapping with positive messages, and I hear it a lot in your music. What kind of messages do you wish there were more of, specifically in like mainstream hip hop or Aussie rap specifically? Like what?
Yeah, what kind of messages?
What's lacking?
Look, man, like, I think, I don't want to take away from anyone, because like I feel like music is everyone's individual expression. What I do wish is that like there would be a lot of just less violence, you know what I mean? Because we've seen I've worked with a few youth organizations like in Melbourne, and I saw a few years ago, I think it was last year, a tragic 16-year-old boy you know, was stabbed, and you know, he lost his life and stuff like that. And I think, you know, the emergence of a lot of violence in music has caused a lot of young people to think that that's like, you know, that's the way things are, that's the way things have to be. You know, we hear about post-code wars and stuff like that. So I feel like just a lot of more uplifting music to uplift the youth, and inspire them to be good. You know, a guy that I've loved seeing his change is the Spaniard. I don't know if you guys have seen that guy.
Yeah, he had that viral clip where he was like, "This song I'm about to put out is garbage."
That was awesome.
I think that is really powerful because it shows that like your music does leave a legacy, and he understands his impact. He understands his impact on the next generation, and then now he's able to use his platform for something positive. And everybody knows, man, like you know, everyone knows that like, because I still work in the youth space. I still you know, as a job 2 days a week, I do that. I do youth support work, and all the kids, you know, I've got kids in and out of juvie, you know, doing all these kinds of things. And the common denominator with all those kids is the type of music they listen to. Do you know what I mean? And no one can, you know, and I know this is very like based on my experience, but you could talk to a lot of youth workers, you could talk to a lot of, you know, correctional officers, you can talk to people who are in this space. They will tell you that, you know, there's a common denominator with a lot of these kids and listening to that type of music. And what you feed your brain, you then normalize. You know what I mean? Everyone knows this since the days of hip hop and Tupac and Biggie and all that kind of violence in LA and violence in New York. And so I think just that is really concerning to me because I'm in this space, and I just wish there was more of a counterbalance in mainstream, you know, because it's still there, but it doesn't get the same amount of promotion. It doesn't get the same amount of like, you know, glamorization, and it's not sexy. It's not sexy to be like, you know, hey, you know, let me like inspire the next generation, or rapping about, you know, how vulnerable you are and how you overcame something to do something more positive. It's not as sexy as like shoot up the, you know, opening the door, shoot up your 4-4. You know what I'm saying? Like, like that's unfortunately negativity sells, but I feel like there is a few artists out there, you know, Capo, you're one of them. I remember you did a mad thing at the Hyperdome where you rapped and you were vulnerable. Do you know what I mean? And that's powerful, man. That leaves that I think was like maybe 6 or 7 years ago, and I still remember that performance. So, so I think, did I get cut off? Or what's going on here?
No, the video's lost, but we can still hear.
Sorry.
That's
sorry, sorry. So that's my answer. That's my answer. I just feel that I wish there was more positivity. I wish there was more artists doing that. So
yeah, keep bringing it too in your own music.
No, I will try, man. I will. I'm working on an EP now. Me and you guys getting it hot off the press. Me and Shaka J are working on our first EP in 15 years. So we're working on that bad boy. So that should be out hopefully later on next year.
Go. What are some highlights throughout your musical career? Like, do you have any highlights that stand out, like any shows or going on tour or just anything?
I gotta say definitely, sorry. One of my highlights was I have a song called Martin Mandela.
Yeah.
And I forget her name. I should remember her name so bad. But when I released it, there was a guy named Philly who featured on the track, who's awesome MC from Mildura. And actually one of Eddie Koiki Mabo, who's the guy that the song is about, and obviously Nelson Mandela, and Martin Luther King. But one of the descendants of Eddie Koiki Mabo liked and shared the song. So that that was definitely a big highlight. That I really enjoyed. And then another big one obviously is performing in Botswana on New Year's Eve, being able to fly my mum, my brother, and you know, my aunties and uncles to come and watch me perform. You know, minutes, like maybe an hour from the village where all my ancestors and, you know, my grandma, she was still there. Unfortunately, she couldn't make it. She was too ill. But just being able to go home and say that, like, I'm from this village, and that you can make it, you can do anything that you want, you know, being able to perform at a festival an hour away, and then being able to perform at Vic Falls Festival with MTV based South Africa in 2019. Those are probably the three biggest highlights of my career.
Yeah,
Wow.
dope.
Yo, so actually sort of related. This is just a question I have written down, but as we know, hip hop is a black art form. And I was wondering, as a black person in a black art form, what does blackness mean to you? And how do you go about portraying it and sharing it with non-people of color?
Yeah, I think man, like the craziest thing about it is like, yeah, like it did originate from the art form of West African griots. They were like storytellers. They were people who in the early 1700s, there were people who'd go and use music and drum to tell stories. And that's actually like where it originated from. And then obviously we have the emergence of it in New York and stuff like that, and the Caribbeans. But I feel like now hip hop has just evolved into something where it's the music of struggle. It's the music of many different cultures now, many different nations. And I guess as a black person, like my prime focus is telling the stories of my people, telling the stories of my culture and where I come from, and leaving a legacy that people will see that I did it honestly. And I wasn't the best. I'm never gonna say I'm the best MC. I know a lot of artists come out and say I'm the best MC with the bravado, but the one thing I always want to do is I tried my best, and I never I have this saying, I never lied on wax. You know what I mean? I never talked about driving Lamborghinis and shooting people up and stuff like that. So I think it's tough because a lot of people of color, they come from backgrounds where that's their reality. You know what I mean? And that's the only thing that they have to aspire to. Because that's all they can see. They can see, the drug dealer in the corner. He's got, he's driving this car and he's got all this money, so I got to do that. But for other people, it's a different reality. But at the same time, there's no reason why we can't flip that for some positivity. Because there's always been that aspect in hip hop too, African Bambaataa and all the old school, like the Zulu nations, like all of those guys have always tried to, KRS-One comes to mind. He's always trying to give life through the music. He's trying to give life. He's trying to give
Common's another good one.
Yeah, Common. You know what I mean? So these guys are trying to give life. They're trying to give inspiration through their bars, through their workshops, through their community, because hip hop is also community. So I feel like if you're tearing down your community, you're also kind of going against hip hop. You know what I mean? If that kind of makes sense.
Yeah,
that's so true.
Yeah.
When you released that Mabo Martin Mandela track, did you feel like you needed to water it down a bit, to reach a wider audience? Because with a political song or a song with a message, a conscious song, if you will, like, do you feel like there's a balance between watering down the message so it's accessible so more people hear it, or really being true to what you're trying to say? And do you ever consciously think about that?
Yeah, man, that is a great question. All the time, bro, all the time, because it's like, it's so hard to want to get your message to the wider audience, but at the same time, understanding like cadence and flow and skill and technique also do matter. You know what I mean, to the rap community. So I always juggle. My biggest struggle is like, do I go hard? You know what I mean, to prove that that I'm a skilled MC, or you know what I mean, like what's the aim? So I always look at like, what's my aim? The first the first kind of bars that I wrote for that were like really condensed, if you know what I mean. I was trying to like put all these fancy words of government, systemic, and all this kind of stuff in there, and I realized that it's like who am I doing this for? Like, am I doing this for the approval of like other rappers, or am I doing this to just prove that I'm a sick MC, or am I doing this to get the message out? And then like I kind of like sat down and I had to strip it back and go, no, man, like the main thing is the message. So just be a vehicle to boost that message. And I think that's just what I tried to do. Similar to Black Boy was inspired by this young kid that I spoke to on Instagram, who went into an Apple store. And he was followed around. You know what I mean? He was followed around by the Apple staff, and then they went through his bag and they did all this crazy stuff to him. And I was like, that literally, if you watch the Black Boy film clip, that what we filmed, and like I directed that film, that's exactly that store that we filmed it in, that 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 exact location in Canberra. That happened to me when I was 10 years old, where a dude was following me around the store, and you know what I mean, and doing all sorts of that. So that song was inspired by that. It's inspired by the apex gangs of Melbourne. And again, it was like, I was listening to a lot of Kendrick, a lot of J. Cole, a lot of Jay-Z. And I was like, I need to go in with like, all these bars and metaphors and all this kind of stuff. But then I was like, had to strip it back and go, no, the message is the main thing. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like, how as an artist, as a rapper, you got to figure it out. You got to figure out what's your style? You know what I mean? And I think I've kind of hit a pocket now and a groove where I know what my style is. And I'm just flowing with it, comfortable with it. And yeah, it's a good space to be in.
I've got a question. What are your thoughts on the Australian music industry?
Oh, tough question. I think, for you guys who are a lot younger than me, I think it's in a great space. You know what I mean? You've got artists that have made it from, the Kid Leroy comes to mind, where he's made it, all the way to the top of the world industry. So you've got a real roadmap now where you can see Australian artists making it from, their bedroom to the world, which is awesome. Yeah. Back in the day, the only kind of artists I feel like that and I mean hip hop specific artists, but I was saying back in my day, like the only artists I could ever think of are like, singers or bands, rock bands. We've always had that in Australia, but now to have all different kinds of artists making it, I think it's in a good space. But also I think it also is in a bad place. You know what I mean? It comes with the good and the bad, because we do have this situation where I feel like there's two industries in Australia. You know what I mean? I feel like there's this kind of the industry outside the industry. I think Cursor summed it up really well when he said, a certain place wouldn't play his music, they blacklisted him, and then now they're trying to play his music and jump on the wave. And it's like that, you know what I mean? Like
I'm a big Cursor fan.
Yeah, I mean, but it's like, who's deciding these decisions? Like, why? Like, what? And people say, oh, because of his actions and what he did. But then it's like that same place will play American artists who are doing way more heinous activities. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
And then, like, for example, in South Africa, man, like the beauty of it is South Africa play, like, their thing is they only play 10% of international music. You know what I mean? Like, and we're talking like commercial radios, community radios, they will only play like 10%. It's 90% African music. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
when I was in, like, even in Mauritius or other countries, and I feel like Australia is only one of the weirdest kind of countries where we will literally, like, you'll go on the radio station and you will struggle to hear an Australian artist's music here. You know what I mean? And it's like, but we're Australian. There are so many dope artists here. Like, why are you not you should just be playing and promoting, putting on TV ads, our own stuff. Because it's like, and people go, because if you go online and you watch YouTube, kids love it. Like, the kids love, Aussie music. And I've had some youth work clients of mine show me all this dope Aussie music on YouTube. And I'd be like, whoa, that's sick. And it'd be like millions of views. So there's a disconnect between the actual industry and what's happening out in the, I call it the real world. Because like the consumer is thirsty for it, but the people who are dictating what the consumer actually wants to listen to don't even know what's going on. So,
I think it's a real shame that, like, because of everything you just mentioned, and I hadn't even thought of that before, like someone like the Kid Leroy who's trying to make it in the rest of the world, the first thing they do is switch up their accent. Right. If an Australian artist, Iggy Azalea, the Kid Leroy, makes it in America, makes it in California, they no longer are representing Australia. They're representing the American music that they heard when they were here. So I feel like still it's confined to, even though Australian artists are making it out, like, I don't think Australian representation is really making it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because it's like I said, like Australia is very multi-dimensional. It's very multicultural.
It is.
So it's one of those things where it's like, until until you get a reflection of like what real Australia is like in those spaces, you know, we're not going to see much change. You know, it's the same executives that are in these positions for 20, 30 years, you know what I mean? And it's like music is a dynamic space, it's ever changing. You know, like we have TV presenters and radio presenters that have been music presenters that have been in the jobs for like 40 years. You know what I'm saying? And it's like that for me is ridiculous. Like what, you know, but and the thing that comes to mind now is there's a young, amazing young dancer who a friend of mine trained her, Tiana, and her name's Sahey, and she's just become like the new Wiggle. And she's like, you know, she's adopted Ethiopian background. She's 15. She's a person of color, and it's dope, man. Because it's like, you know, contrary to popular belief, the Wiggles are like one of the most successful like bands in Australia.
That's
hands
facts.
down. Yeah, like straight up, they're making major bank. But it's like even the Wiggles can see like the benefit in like diversifying and changing, but yet the industry, do you know what I mean, doesn't. So that's where the problem comes. Like, and it's very like, you know, it lacks multiculturalism. It's very ageist. It's very and when I mean ageist, it's like the lack of young people in these spaces is just ridiculous. Because like I said, like 100%. I know a young guy who's just crushing Instagram. He's making like $10,000 a month from his Instagram. Do you know what I mean? Like from his bedroom. And I know another kid here in Canberra who's a producer. He's getting royalty checks from YouTube that are like $3,000 a month. Do you know what I mean? And his record deal is like in Europe somewhere. And he's just like
mailbox money.
Yeah, he's just like here in his bedroom, like making production and doing these trap videos and stuff like that. So I think it just comes down to the industry is archaic. The people who run the industry, they don't have their ears to the ground, and they make it difficult for the younger generation to really respect and want to take that path. You know what I mean? Because like I said, the artists that I see that are killing it now are all independent. They're all just doing their own thing. You know, and even the fact that the lot of producers that I know who operate, they're operating from studios that they've created. You know, back in the day, you had to go to Sing Sing, or you had to go to, you know, wherever studio, or you know, what's the other? There's a studio in Sydney. I'm forgetting the name. But yeah, like you'd have to go there to record just, you know, a big single. Now it's just like, nah, let me do that from my bedroom.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah. But do we have to go, or what's
we got about 5 minutes. James, do you have a question?
Yeah, I've got a question. So with the rise of different artists and themes in music, I was just wondering if there were any that you were surprised really started getting popular.
Like artists or the themes?
Yeah, artists or themes, just anything that's sort of gotten big in music that you were like, you didn't think that would happen.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just trying to think now what I've been listening to. Yeah, I think definitely like I was very surprised. Like I watch a lot of the landscape in America, and I was surprised as how like I guess not really like how popular like drill rap from the UK would be in America. That to me is like a big surprise, because it's like and that goes back to Jack, what you were saying about the accent thing, because the UK have always stuck to, you know, you got your Skeptors, you've got your Teeny Temper,
right? And they made it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you've got I was very surprised to see that Americans really embraced that the UK accent, because it's very unique, it's very different, it's very cool. And to see a lot of them go over there, win BET awards, tour, and do that kind of stuff, really like, yeah, that really surprised me, to be honest.
And then having Drake put on a UK accent on his record.
Yeah.
Like,
well, there you go.
See,
you know
it's the same shit.
He's trying to do like what Gigs is doing and stuff, getting gigs on the thing, getting gigs on these tracks and stuff like that. So it goes to show, like, you know, if you're original and you try and do your own thing, hopefully the right people hear it and vibe with you.
Do you think that Australia will ever make that impact?
Oh man, to be honest, I don't know. I don't have the answer to that question because our numbers, you know, our numbers as a population are very small. You know, I mean, we're 25 million. Like, for example, South Africa, 67 million, bro. So that's already like 3 times. And of that 67 million, you know what I mean? How many people listen to hip hop? And like in Australia, of the 25 million, how many of us listen to hip hop? And then we're split into different groups, people who love drill, people who love conscious music, people who love the Aussie accent, people who love more commercial music, people who just do it for clout, people who just like wearing Jordans and dressing like they like hip hop. So, you know what I'm saying? We're split into so many different groups, and you know, and it's the same thing where it's like, if you support Cursor, can you support 360? So we're very like divided as a hip hop subcategory, and then we're struggling with the fact that, you know, the powers that be. I'm gonna be very careful not to name them. You know, when I've had meetings with them or sat down with certain people, you know, I have inside information to know that they have quotas. You know what I mean? They have a black rapper quota. They've got a white rapper quota. They've got a, you know, oh, okay, for this month we played this rap group, this drill rap group. So next month, this drill rap group, or you know what I mean? So they're even thinking, or even if you guys have ever seen a festival lineup, you know what I'm saying? You know, because I'm on a booking agency, and it's like, all right, we can only have, you know, a slot for 3 of these same kind of artists, and rather than saying, oh, actually, they're all different artists, they go, nah, they're all kind of black dudes, or they're all kind of like indigenous rappers or indigenous artists. We got to get that guy because he's like, you know, he's the guy that we just get. And then so it's like they've got all these subcategories for everything, and then they just block the emergence of, you know, of other people being able to just come through because they're like, let's just tick our box. You know what I mean? So I think that is, until Australia fixes that, until we get more independent, you know, from people who run venues, from people who promote festivals, from people who play music, and like, you know, do radio shows and interviews and podcasts, until we get more independent ones and we free ourselves, I call it emancipate ourselves from the industry, then Australia will, I think, really start to grow, because everywhere else in the world, that's what they're doing. You know what I mean? It's like you're hearing music come from the street level all the way out. It's not industry based anymore, and Australia is still stuck on that model of you gotta grease the wheels, meet the right people, get the right backings. Then once you do, and you guys will notice this, you know, it's no diss to any artist and their hard work. I do respect every artist and their hard work, but certain artists, you can just tell, have this like unrealistic amount of backing that is just so manufactured that it almost like turns people off. You know what I mean? Like it's when like they're so getting shoved down your throat. You know, their song is getting played on this certain radio station 24/7, and it's like, who even asked for this song to be played? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, and then you go to that person's show, which I've done in the past, and there's like the same amount of people that I get to a show. You know what I mean? And I'm like, this doesn't make sense. This person's like festival touring, and then a year later, that person's not doing music anymore. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and then I look at guys that I've been doing music with for 10 years, or, you know, even yourself, Capo, and I'm like, man, he's been putting in the grind. Like, play that dude's song on the radio. You know what I mean? So those kinds of things. And then community radio also buys into that as well, which makes it difficult, because then now the platform that was supposed to just be for guys who are, emerging or trying to break through, they're also following the same model as these guys who are the power brokers. So
like Triple J, like they're always promoting like music from outside Australia.
Yeah, I mean, well, you said it, bro. I'm glad you said it. But yes, yeah, man. And I think you know, your job as government employees, man, of Australia, you know, our tax dollars go to your radio station. Your job, man, is to promote Australian music and really do that, and not promote the Australian music that is your friend. You know what I'm saying? That's your friends and your mates and your your mates, because your mate's got a booking agency, or your mate's got a like, you know, little PR company. So you're like, all right, I'm gonna play all my mates, you know, artists. It's like, nah, you gotta give everyone a fair shake. You know what I mean? And I think until they start to really revamp that, and you know, because at the end of the day, with the amount of complaints they're getting, and the way that, you know, the government's going, and with COVID and stuff like that, God forbid, like they get their budget cut, and something happens, because that's the way that politics works. You know what I mean? If the government feels like people are complaining, and which a lot of artists are, you know what I'm saying? A lot of artists are complaining and saying, you know, we're out here struggling. We want support. You know, why can't the Triple J just do an online COVID response festival, raise some money, and then divvy out that money to like artists across Australia? You know, like when the bushfires came, you know, Kappa, I know you did an event to raise money for bushfires. I did an event to perform that event to raise money for bushfires. And now as artists, you know, I'm lucky because I've got a company, I've got a job. But like other artists, it's like, where's the support? You know what I mean? Like, where's the place that they can turn? There's only so many grants that you can give out to people. But no one's really coming to our rescue when we always come to everyone else's rescue when they need, you know, some live kind of performance.
And those grants are not actually that easy to get either.
Nah, man. Nah, I'm lucky. I've got a grant writer in our company. She's amazing. So, but man, like, you know, I've written a few grants myself for my job for students, and like I think I've written about 8 or 9 grants and got like 1. You know what I mean? Definitely. So for young emerging artists here in Canberra, and so it's very very difficult, and even then I don't even know what the criteria is to get that, but it's been awesome, man. Definitely
it was great to chat to you.
Very enlightening, awareness raising sort of thing.
Nah, cool,
Very
man.
great.
I love what you guys are doing. You know, at the Street Uni, I've been meaning to link up with you guys, and gotta get in there and do some, you know, do maybe a dance workshop or some kind of workshop, just something to give back to the community and support what you guys are doing.
Definitely, man. All right, well, it's been a good chat, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Peace.
Peace.